A pregnant wife discovered hidden cameras, then realized her millionaire husband had been recording her for weeks. There are moments in life that shift our reality so profoundly. We can never go back to who we were before. This story begins at just such a moment, when a routine day took a sinister turn and a pregnant woman discovered the seemingly impossible: her own husband, a charming millionaire, had been invading her privacy for weeks. The hidden cameras she unearthed were more than just tiny pieces of equipment. They were symbols of a betrayal that ran terrifyingly deep. In an instant, a mother-to-be's secure world turned upside down. As secrets unraveled, the stakes soared, and the truth became more shocking than anyone could imagine. A sweeping spiral staircase, soaring vaulted ceilings, the gentle hum of central air, and pristine white marble floors reflecting the mid-afternoon sun were the first impressions anyone had when stepping into Ethan Vanderbilt's palatial home. If they looked closer, they might notice an array of pricey art pieces, artifacts from his globe-trotting endeavors, and an entire wall devoted to vintage wines. Ethan was never shy about highlighting his wealth. Quite the opposite. He thrived on showcasing it. His wife, Olivia, however, possessed a far more understated presence. She found beauty in subtlety, preferring a quiet afternoon with a good book and a cup of chamomile tea over the lavish parties Ethan often hosted. She was slender with bright, curious eyes that often had a dreamy, contemplative quality to them. Now that she was pregnant, Olivia found herself even more introspective. Her growing belly added a gentle curve to her otherwise lean frame, and she frequently rested a hand upon it, as though to protect her unborn child from the swirl of extravagance that surrounded them. Outsiders saw a flawless world, a testament to a millionaire's success, and assumed Olivia was the luckiest woman alive. Who wouldn't feel blessed to be married to a wealthy, charming man who provided a life of comfort and security? Friends applauded her stroke of fortune, and acquaintances approached her with envy, imagining the carefree days she must surely enjoy. Yet the truth, as is often the case, lay behind closed doors that concealed secrets, tensions, and vulnerabilities. Olivia was in her first trimester, brimming with anticipation and hope for the future. But there was a growing unease in her heart. The day she first sensed something was off, she had just returned from her regular prenatal checkup. The doctor's reassurance that all was well should have lifted her spirits. Instead, she came home to find Ethan uncharacteristically quiet. Usually, he greeted her with a quick kiss and a question about how the appointment went. On that particular afternoon, he simply nodded when she told him the baby was healthy and retreated into his study without a word. At first, Olivia chalked it up to stress from business deals. Ethan was a man perpetually juggling investments, philanthropic dinners, and complicated acquisitions. She tried to be understanding. Everyone had their moments of moodiness or distraction. Yet, in the subsequent days, she noticed him lurking in areas of the house he rarely bothered to frequent: the basement workshop, the cramped laundry room, the upstairs hallway closet. It was almost as if he was planting something or searching for something. Every time she asked if he was okay, he waved her away with an absent-minded smile, claiming he just needed to take stock of a few items. Her instincts prickled. She remembered how shortly after they moved in, Ethan had a fleeting obsession with upgrading their home security system. He installed a state-of-the-art Nest camera at the front door, floodlight cameras in the backyard, and motion sensors in each of the main living spaces. Olivia assumed it was a phase, and that once Ethan felt satisfied, he would forget all about it. But recently, it seemed like that interest had reignited, and not just in a typical protective way. There was an edge to it, a secrecy she couldn't pinpoint. Olivia began double-checking random spots in the house. Whenever she was alone, she would open closets, poke around the corners of door frames, and run her palms along the smooth interior of drawers, hoping to find anything out of place. She discovered nothing at first, but her anxiety steadily grew. She tried telling herself she was being paranoid. Hormones, she rationalized, had a way of heightening emotions. Perhaps the stress of impending motherhood was making her see shadows where there were none. Still, one evening, she overheard Ethan on the phone. His voice was subdued. Urgent. And it certainly wasn't a business call about stocks or property developments. Through the slightly ajar door to his study, she caught a sentence that sent a chill down her spine. The living room feed has a blind spot. We need to fix that immediately. She froze. Ethan never talked about feeds unless it related to security cameras outside. So why was he concerned about a feed in their living room? Her heart thudded in her chest as she backed away from the study door, careful not to make a sound. That night, Olivia lay awake in bed, listening to Ethan's even breathing. The man who slept next to her, the father of her unborn child, was rapidly becoming someone she barely recognized. An invisible barrier seemed to have formed between them, and she could no longer ignore the alarm bells clanging in her mind. Days went by. Olivia kept her observations and suspicions to herself, battling the urge to confront Ethan outright. The shift in his behavior had created a tension that weighted every conversation. She noticed him fiddling with devices in his pockets, stepping away to make phone calls, and surreptitiously checking corners of rooms as though searching for vantage points. Something was definitely going on. The discovery happened on a quiet Friday morning. Ethan had left early for a supposed business meeting. Olivia was pacing through the living room, preoccupied by the thought of ordering some new items for the nursery, when she spotted a glint near the base of the bookshelf. She knelt and peered closely, her eyes widening. It was a small, almost imperceptible camera lens, nestled discreetly amidst the spines of books. For a moment, she simply stared, her mind unable to process. Then her breath came in shallow gasps. She reached out, trembling. The camera was slightly warm to the touch, confirming it was active. Alarm shot through her. Someone had been recording. She flipped it over, searching for a brand name, and saw a familiar label, Arlo. It was the same brand Ethan used for the front door camera system. Adrenaline fueled her as she began to search the house with new determination. The best place to start was the rooms Ethan had been so inexplicably visiting: the basement, the laundry room, the upstairs closet. It took nearly an hour, but in that time, she uncovered not one, not two, but half a dozen more hidden cameras scattered throughout the house. They were tucked behind vases, mounted behind lampshades, and even placed at vantage points in the bedroom. Each tiny camera sent a jolt of horror through her. Had she been recorded in her private moments changing, bathing, even weeping when pregnancy hormones overwhelmed her? By the time she was done, Olivia was trembling from head to toe. The truth was undeniable. Ethan had set them up. Her own husband had been watching her in secret, capturing her every move for weeks, maybe even longer. She felt an acute mix of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak. How could he do this to her? That evening, Olivia mustered the courage to confront Ethan. She waited until he returned from his meeting, which she now doubted was strictly about business. She stood in the foyer, arms crossed over her pregnant belly. The hidden cameras piled on a nearby table for him to see. The moment Ethan stepped inside, she could almost taste the tension in the air. "What is this?" she demanded, motioning to the cameras. Her voice shook, but it held a fierce resolve. His face turned ashen. For a fraction of a second, Ethan looked like a child caught stealing candy. Then he composed himself, smoothing his hair as he set his briefcase on the floor. "Olivia, calm down. I can explain," he began. She cut him off. "Explain what?" "That you've been spying on me. That you planted cameras all over the house without my knowledge." Her voice cracked with a torrent of emotion. "I'm your wife. I'm pregnant with your child. How could you do this to me?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "You don't understand. This isn't about you. It's about our safety. You know I've been receiving threats, right? From rivals in business. I just wanted to protect you. Protect us." But she didn't believe him. There was a hollowness in his tone, an insincerity that felt all too convenient. "If that's true, why hide them from me? Why not tell me you were worried about intruders? Instead, you've been sneaking around, recording me in private moments like some creep." "Don't talk to me like that," Ethan hissed. He moved toward her, face twisted. "You have no idea what I'm dealing with out there. You think all this money, all this power comes without consequences. I did this for us." "No," Olivia whispered, stepping back. "You did this for yourself. It has nothing to do with protecting me. And you've been lying about everything." He opened his mouth to argue, but something in her eyes must have warned him off. Perhaps he realized the depth of his transgression. In that tense moment, Olivia felt the vastness of their home pressing down, suffocating her. She wrapped her arms around her belly protectively. "I'm leaving, Ethan," she said in a quiet, steely voice. "At least for a little while. I can't be here right now." Ethan's face flickered with panic. "Wait, Olivia, just give me a chance to," but she was already marching up the stairs to pack a bag, ignoring the echo of his pleas behind her. Fleeing to a hotel felt like the only option. Olivia drove to the Hilton in the next town over, a place where she could clear her mind without the risk of running into Ethan's associates. Once safely ensconced in a nondescript room, she sank onto the bed. For the first time since she'd found the cameras, she allowed herself the release of tears. She sobbed, face buried in the pillows, overcome by a sense of betrayal so thick it was suffocating. The baby she carried deserved better than a father who spied on his family. Her phone buzzed continuously. Ethan called, texted, left voicemails she didn't pick up. In the midst of that emotional storm, she decided to call her longtime friend, Chloe. She needed a friendly voice, someone who could help her parse the swirling confusion. Chloe answered on the second ring, her voice brimming with concern. Olivia recounted everything, from a suspicious behavior to the horrifying discovery of the hidden cameras. Chloe's shock was palpable. "That's not normal, Olivia," Chloe said. "He didn't just cross a boundary. He obliterated it. You need to stay safe. Do you want me to come get you?" Olivia clenched her phone. "No, I'm okay for now. I just need to figure out what to do next. I am pregnant. Chloe, This complicates everything. I can't just vanish without considering the consequences. Chloe sighed, and Olivia could hear the empathy in her voice. Well, I'm here no matter what you decide. Just remember, you deserve better than this. That simple statement, you deserve better, echoed in Olivia's mind, forcing her to confront a question she had been skirting for months. Did Ethan truly care about her? Or was she just another piece of property to him? Something to be controlled. In the stark light of morning, Olivia decided she needed more information about Ethan's dealings. He'd always been somewhat mysterious about the sources of his wealth. Sure, he had a massive inheritance, but that alone didn't explain his constant references to rivals and threats. Could there be something darker at play? She recalled a box of old photos and documents Ethan kept locked in his study. Once, during a spring cleaning session, she'd stumbled upon it. He'd been furious when he caught her trying to pry it open. She never did find out what it contained, and he never brought it up again. Now, a creeping suspicion told her whatever secrets lay within that box might explain his bizarre behavior. Stepping outside, Olivia stared at the road. Part of her wanted to march back home, break into that study, and uncover the truth. But after last night's confrontation, she wasn't sure if Ethan would let her near anything. She decided to wait, to see if an opportunity presented itself. Meanwhile, she'd speak with a lawyer, just in case. At Chloe's urging, Olivia set up a consultation with an old family friend, David Miller, a seasoned attorney known for his discretion. She told him the situation in broad strokes. Her husband had installed hidden cameras, violating her privacy. She was pregnant. She was frightened. David's brow furrowed throughout her story. When she finished, he leaned forward. Olivia, this is serious. Not just from a moral standpoint, but a legal one, depending on the jurisdiction. Secretly recording someone in private spaces can be a felony. You need to think about your safety and the baby's. She nodded. I know. I just don't understand why he did it. He claims it's for our security. But why not tell me? Why put cameras in the bedroom? That doesn't track with the protection excuse. David laced his fingers. Are there any other red flags about Ethan's activities? Could he be involved in something illegal? Money laundering? Perhaps. Or anything that would justify him going to extreme measures? Olivia hesitated, recalling the hush phone calls and the references to rivals. She shrugged helplessly. I honestly don't know. He's always had business deals, sometimes in foreign countries. But I never pressed him for details. Maybe I should have. David nodded grimly. For your peace of mind, you need to find out. And in the meantime, we could take steps to protect you legally, like a restraining order, if necessary. The idea of a restraining order felt surreal to Olivia. Just a month ago, she and Ethan were picking out baby names. Now, she was discussing legal measures to keep him away. She left David's office with a sense of surreal dread, but also a glimmer of resolve. Ethan was no longer just the man she loved. He was a threat to her autonomy, someone who might be wrapped up in dangerous affairs. Against David's advice to keep her distance, Olivia decided to return to the house one afternoon while Ethan was out. She needed her prenatal vitamins and some personal belongings. More than that, she felt compelled to face the physical space where she had been recorded. She arrived, heart pounding, and entered using her key, half expecting to find Ethan waiting. But the house was silent. Stepping into the foyer, she noticed how her own footsteps echoed ominously. She tried not to think about how many cameras might still be running. She had removed the one she'd found. But what if there were more? A paranoid voice inside told her to keep quiet, not to say anything that Ethan's devices could record. First, she went to the bedroom where her clothes and vitamins were. The space felt invasive now. She remembered the hidden camera near the mirror, capturing her in her most vulnerable states. She shivered and stuffed items into a suitcase as quickly as possible. Next, a compulsion tugged at her to check the locked box in Ethan's study. Perhaps she could glean something about his motives, or at least arm herself with the truth. She found the study's door unlocked for once. The richly paneled walls and leather-bound books gave the room a veneer of old-world sophistication. In the center stood Ethan's imposing desk. She saw the box on a shelf behind it, an antique lock sealing its contents. Olivia rummaged through Ethan's drawers until she found a set of small keys. Most didn't fit. Finally, one clicked. Heart thudding. She lifted the lid. Inside were photos, documents, and a small black notebook. The pictures depicted Ethan in various parts of the world: offices, fancy galleries, remote construction sites. Some pictures featured men in suits, men with stern faces and dangerous eyes. She flipped one over and saw a scrolled note: "Deal in Shanghai. Not to be disclosed." The next photo read, "Meeting with ARW Solutions. High stakes." Another had a reference to threat from Donovan Group. Her anxiety spiked. She had never heard Ethan talk about these individuals. She dug deeper and found a letter with a letterhead from a Swiss bank, referencing large wire transfers. It seemed Ethan was funneling money to different accounts around the world. It wasn't necessarily illegal, but it was definitely suspicious. Then she noticed something else in the small black notebook: dates and times meticulously recorded with details about conversations and transactions. Some entries mentioned hush money and evidence. A chill ran down her spine. One entry stood out in particular: secure personal environment. Acquire top-grade surveillance. Olivia must not know. Her heart dropped. This was no random attempt at protection. Ethan had specifically planned to spy on her. Why? Fear roiled in her stomach. Did he suspect she might inadvertently leak something about his shady dealings? Her mind whirled with questions as she closed the box. She placed the items back the way she found them, though she pocketed a few pages of the notebook for evidence, just in case. With her pulse hammering, Olivia hurried to the kitchen to get water. She needed to breathe, to think. But the moment she turned the tap, she heard footsteps approaching. Ethan's voice echoed from the foyer. "Olivia, is that you?" She froze. He was home early. Panic surged, but she resolved to stay calm. Maybe she could feign normalcy, gather her suitcase, and leave. She slowly emerged from the kitchen, water glass in hand. Ethan stood near the door, tie loose around his neck, an odd mix of relief and anger clouding his eyes. "Olivia," he sighed, stepping toward her. "Thank God. Why did you come back without telling me?" She forced herself to meet his gaze. "I needed my things and my prenatal vitamins. I didn't think I owed you an explanation." He attempted a gentle smile, but it trembled with tension. "I want to make this right. I know you're angry about the cameras, but you have to trust me. It was for our own good." "Save it. Ethan, she snapped, surprising even herself with her intensity. Stop lying. I've seen enough to know you're not just worried about some nameless threat. Ethan's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She took a shaky breath. I mean, your hush money, your shady deals, the references to meeting with dangerous people overseas. The cameras were never about protection. You're hiding something bigger, and you were watching me to make sure I didn't find out. A flicker of panic crossed his face, quickly replaced by defiance. You went through my study, my private property. His voice darkened. That's a violation of my trust. She almost laughed at the irony. You're lecturing me about trust after installing hidden cameras in my bedroom, in the laundry room. Ethan, you've lost any moral high ground you ever had. Rage flared in his eyes. His voice shook with barely controlled temper. You don't understand the stakes here. My business empire. Our lifestyle's built on a delicate web of partnerships. One misstep, one leak, and everything collapses. She found her courage. That doesn't justify violating my privacy or involving me in illegal activities without my knowledge. I'm pregnant. Ethan, I won't let you endanger our child. Something broke in him then. He advanced, eyes cold. Olivia stepped back. For a moment, she thought he might grab her, but his fists clenched at his sides. You don't know what you're doing, he hissed, the menace in his tone unmistakable. Don't push me. Fear stoked her anger. She lifted her chin. Or what? You'll record me again. You'll threaten me. I'm done. Ethan, I'm leaving for good. Ethan swallowed hard, his gaze flicking to her belly. She could see the war of emotions in his expression: fear, anger, regret. Yet he said nothing more. Olivia brushed past him and marched upstairs to grab her suitcase. Leaving the mansion felt like tearing away a part of her own life. But Olivia recognized the necessity. She drove off, the driveway disappearing in her rearview mirror, uncertain if she'd ever feel safe in that house again. Every nerve in her body hummed, a testament to the adrenaline coursing through her. She dialed Chloe. This time, Chloe insisted Olivia come stay with her. Olivia finally agreed. By the time she arrived at Chloe's small but cozy suburban home, her eyes stung with exhaustion. Chloe helped her inside and offered a warm hug that seemed to untangle some of the knots in Olivia's chest. Thank you for letting me stay, Olivia murmured, dropping onto the couch. She cradled her belly, a habit she had developed for comfort. Chloe sat beside her. Of course. Stay as long as you need. Have you heard from him again? Olivia shook her head. I turned my phone off for the drive over. I'm sure there are a million missed calls. He's not going to let this go easily. Chloe's gentle hand closed over hers. We'll figure it out, one step at a time. And so, for the first time in her pregnancy, Olivia felt the faint stirrings of independence. Yes, she was frightened. Yes, she was hurt. But she was no longer powerless. She had friends, a good attorney, and evidence that Ethan had gone too far. If he thought he could continue controlling her, he was in for a surprise. Days turned into a week. Olivia settled into Chloe's guest room, ignoring Ethan's countless attempts to reach her. Part of her yearned to return his calls, to unearth an apology or explanation that might quell her pain. But each time she pictured those hidden cameras, her anger blazed anew, stifling any inclination to reconcile. During this time, David, her attorney, pored over the documents she'd taken from Ethan's study. As the puzzle pieces fit together, an unsettling picture formed. Ethan's fortune was entangled in borderline criminal investments, some of which skirted the law with suspicious skill. More troubling were references to Ethan possibly blackmailing or threatening business partners to keep certain deals afloat. It dawned on Olivia that she might never truly have known the man she married. Her heart clenched at the thought. She'd once believed Ethan's philanthropic endeavors, like charitable donations to children's hospitals, were evidence of a benevolent spirit. Yet now she saw them as potential covers for laundering money or buying goodwill in high circles. A conversation with David confirmed her worst fears. Ethan is in deep, and these hidden cameras might be part of a larger pattern of controlling everyone around him. While Olivia grappled with her new reality, an unexpected ally contacted her, Sarah Jenkins, Ethan's ex-personal assistant. Sarah had parted ways with Ethan a year ago under unclear circumstances. She reached out via email with a simple note. "I heard what happened. I believe you. If you need to talk, I have information." Despite her trepidation, Olivia agreed to meet Sarah at a small cafe near Chloe's neighborhood. She arrived early, scanning the room with nervous eyes. When Sarah walked in, Olivia was struck by her poised, professional air, softened by a note of empathy in her gaze. "I'm sorry about what you're going through," Sarah said, settling into a chair. She clasped her hands around a steaming mug of coffee. "Ethan can be unpredictable. That's why I left." Olivia leaned forward. "Did you know he was installing cameras?" Sarah sighed, nodding. "He's been obsessed with surveillance for a while. Early on, he asked me to research the best hidden camera systems, but he told me it was for office security. I had no idea he planned to use it at home. But knowing Ethan, I'm not surprised. Why didn't you warn me?" A regretful expression flickered across Sarah's face. "It wasn't my place. Or so I thought at the time. Plus, Ethan is intimidating. He threatened to sue me if I ever disclosed any details about his business. By the time I realized how toxic everything was, I just wanted out." Olivia nodded slowly, understanding the fear that Ethan instilled in those around him. "Is there anything else you can tell me?" Sarah lowered her voice, glancing around. "He's been building a dossier on you, Olivia. Medical records, financial statements, personal correspondences. I discovered it while I was organizing files on his laptop. He might be preparing to discredit you if you ever try to speak out against him." A chill ran through Olivia. So that was Ethan's game. He was collecting ammunition in case she turned on him. The hidden cameras were just the tip of the iceberg. "Thank you for telling me," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah reached across the table and gently squeezed Olivia's hand. "I wish I could have done more sooner. But I am here now. If you need a witness or someone to back you up, I'll do it." Olivia left the cafe feeling a complex swirl of emotions, gratitude for Sarah's solidarity, but also a starker realization of Ethan's capacity for manipulation and control. As the days wore on, Ethan's attempts to contact Olivia became more frantic. He left her voicemails that swung wildly between pleas for forgiveness and veiled threats about taking legal action if she didn't return home. Late one night, Chloe woke Olivia with worry in her eyes. "He's here," Chloe whispered, peeking through the curtains. Sure enough, Ethan's sleek black car idled out front, headlights piercing the darkness. Olivia's heart pounded. "I won't talk to him. Can we call the police?" Chloe nodded, phone already in hand. By the time a patrol car arrived, Ethan had driven off. But the incident rattled Olivia's sense of security. It was a stark reminder that she wasn't dealing with some misguided, penitent husband. She was facing a man who had the resources and ruthlessness to get what he wanted. With David's guidance, Olivia began gathering evidence, texts, emails, records of suspicious bank transfers that connected the dots in Ethan's empire. She also documented the hidden cameras meticulously. Once David had compiled enough proof, he suggested a meeting with law enforcement. Olivia hesitated, knowing this step could escalate tensions with Ethan. But Chloe and Sarah convinced her it was necessary. If Ethan's activities were indeed illegal, the authorities needed to be involved, especially considering the threat he posed to Olivia and her unborn child. So, on a clear morning, Olivia found herself in a small conference room at the local police station. Across the table sat Detective Laura Ramirez, a stern but fair-looking woman with a calm demeanor. David, Chloe, and Sarah accompanied Olivia, each offering insights. Detective Ramirez listened intently, occasionally jotting down notes. By the end of the meeting, she had a thick file of evidence. "It's still preliminary," Detective Ramirez cautioned, "but we have enough to open an investigation." "Ms. Vanderbilt, I understand this is your husband, and you're expecting a child together. These cases can be emotionally fraught, but if he's indeed involved in criminal activities, we need to act." Olivia nodded, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. "I just want to be safe, and I want my baby safe." The detective assured her they'd keep her updated. As Olivia left, a wave of relief mingled with anxiety. She had taken a huge step, effectively drawing a line in the sand. She might have triggered a storm she could never fully predict or control. Yet, there was no turning back now. Word seemed to travel fast. Only 2 days after she met with law enforcement, Ethan's lawyer contacted Olivia, demanding that she return to the marital home. The letter was dripping with legal threats, accusing her of abandoning the property and absconding with essential documents. She showed the letter to David, who merely shrugged. "He's trying to intimidate you. Don't let him." But the intimidation wasn't limited to legal letters. Strange cars started appearing near Chloe's house at odd hours. Olivia received anonymous calls that ended in silence. Once, she could swear she saw Ethan's silhouette lurking at the end of the street. Fear gnawed at her, especially during the nights when every creak of the house made her heart jolt. Nevertheless, she pressed on, refusing to let Ethan's tactics drive her into hiding. She discussed a restraining order with David, but they both knew it could be tricky to enforce given Ethan's influence. David advised moving to a safer location, possibly out of state. Yet Olivia felt a stubborn need to hold her ground. She was tired of being the one to run. In the midst of this chaos, Olivia's prenatal care remained a top priority. She continued attending appointments, ensuring the baby was healthy. The doctors marveled at how well she seemed to be handling her stress, though she often cried in private afterward. Each scan of her growing child offered a brief respite from her troubles, a reminder of the new life she was fighting to protect. One afternoon, While waiting in the OBGYN's office, she felt a series of flutters in her belly quickening. The first real sensations of her baby moving. Tears sprang to her eyes, not from sorrow, but from an overwhelming sense of awe. This was the life that kept her grounded. She vowed then and there, never to let Ethan's darkness overshadow the purity of this child's future. Around the same time, Detective Ramirez informed David that the police needed more concrete evidence to bring a strong case against Ethan. Suspicion alone wouldn't cut it with a man of his resources. They needed to catch him red-handed or uncover a paper trail so damning that no lawyer could spin it otherwise. Chloe proposed a bold plan. What if we lure Ethan into revealing something on tape? He's used cameras on Olivia. Maybe we can turn that against him. Initially, Olivia was hesitant, not wanting to sink to Ethan's level. But the more she thought about it, the more sense it made. If Ethan was so consumed by the idea of controlling narratives, maybe he would incriminate himself while attempting to manipulate Olivia back into his web. With David's support, Olivia decided to meet Ethan in a public place, wearing a wire provided by the detective. The goal was to get him to admit, or at least strongly imply, illegal activity and the installation of hidden cameras without her consent. It was risky. Ethan might see through the ruse, or become violent. But she was desperate, and this might be their best chance. They chose a busy cafe near the courthouse for the meeting. Olivia took a seat at a small table. Her heart hammering as the microphone nestled under her blouse felt suddenly conspicuous. She sipped water, eyes flicking nervously to the entrance. Chloe and David waited in an unmarked car outside, ready to intervene if something went wrong. Detective Ramirez stationed herself at a discreet vantage point inside, a plainclothes officer disguised as a patron. When Ethan arrived, he exuded the same confident aura that had once captivated Olivia. He slid into the chair across from her, forced a smile. "You look beautiful," he said softly, his gaze briefly resting on her baby bump. She swallowed, conjuring the composure she needed. "Thank you for agreeing to meet. We need to talk about everything, especially the cameras." Ethan's expression tightened for a fraction of a second. Then he plastered on a smile. "Let's not air dirty laundry here. Why don't we go somewhere more private?" Olivia's pulse spiked. She forced a sweet, fragile tone. "I'd rather stay here, if that's all right. Please, Ethan, help me understand why you did it. You said it was about keeping me safe. But we both know there's more to it." He studied her, suspicion flitting through his eyes. "I told you, there are people after me, after us. I needed to ensure no one came near you or the house without me knowing. But the cameras in the bedroom, the ones hidden in the laundry room, that doesn't protect me from outside threats, does it?" She probed gently, hoping he'd slip up. He shifted uncomfortably. "Look, sometimes I make deals that step on people's toes. There are men out there who do anything for leverage against me. If they got to you." Olivia cut him off, voice trembling with feigned vulnerability. "So you spied on me, recorded me at my most vulnerable moments. Did you trust me so little?" Ethan exhaled sharply, frustration rolling off him. "I'm not proud of it, but I had no choice. Things were spiraling. I had to be sure you weren't coerced by anyone else, or working with them, even unknowingly. That small admission might be enough to prove he knowingly recorded her. Yet Detective Ramirez wanted more. Olivia pressed on. You're doing more than stepping on toes. Ethan, your ex-assistant, Sarah, told me about hush money, blackmail, offshore accounts. How far did you think you could go before it all caught up to you? At the mention of Sarah, a flicker of anger darkened Ethan's face. Sarah is disloyal. She's trying to sink me because she wants money. Don't believe everything she says. And what about me? Ethan, why keep such close tabs on your pregnant wife if you trust me? The muscle in his jaw twitched. I needed to ensure you didn't accidentally expose anything. The men I'm dealing with, they don't play games. They threatened to kill me if I didn't comply, to harm my family if I failed. I couldn't risk it. There was a confession that he was involved with dangerous men, that he was controlling Olivia to keep her silent. Olivia's pulse pounded. She had enough. She glanced at Ethan's hands, which drummed anxiously on the table. For a moment, pity mingled with her rage. Was he as trapped as she was? Or was this just another manipulation? You installed the cameras to watch me, record me without my knowledge, she said, trying to prompt a clearer admission. He hesitated, then nodded curtly. Yes, I did. Okay, I did it. Olivia's breath hitched, a swirl of triumph and heartbreak. She'd gotten what she needed. She glanced toward the window where Chloe and David were likely listening through the transmitter. The detective, seated 2 tables away, nodded almost imperceptibly. It was done. Ethan noticed the direction of Olivia's gaze. Suspicion flared in his eyes. You're not wearing a wire, are you? Olivia forced a shaky laugh. Don't be ridiculous. But it was too late. Ethan recognized the faint bulge of the microphone beneath her blouse or saw the subtle shift in Detective Ramirez's posture. He shot up from his seat, face contorted with rage. You set me up. Before Olivia could react, Ethan lunged forward, fingers digging into her wrist. Fear shot through her, and she cried out in pain. At once, Detective Ramirez intervened, stepping between them and flashing her badge. Ethan Vanderbilt. Let her go, she ordered. Ethan's eyes blazed, but he released Olivia's arm. 2 other officers materialized, guiding him away from the table. Shock overtook Olivia. She cradled her wrist, tears blurring her vision. She could hear Ethan protesting, claiming entrapment, calling the situation a misunderstanding. But the detective's calm voice instructed the other officers to take him into custody for questioning, citing assault and possible violations of privacy laws. Olivia sank back in her chair, stunned by the suddenness of it all. She hadn't wanted it to come to this exact confrontation. She'd hoped for a calmer, more discreet takedown. Yet, as she watched Ethan being led away in handcuffs, a tidal wave of relief washed over her. She could breathe again. Ethan's arrest sent shockwaves through their social circles. For years, he'd presented himself as a philanthropic millionaire, an esteemed figure at charity galas and exclusive clubs. Now, rumors swirled about hidden cameras, shady deals, and a meltdown at the cafe. Many acquaintances distanced themselves from the scandal, while a few longtime friends called Olivia, apologizing for not believing her sooner. Meanwhile, Detective Ramirez's team delved into Ethan's finances and discovered enough inconsistencies to escalate the case to federal investigators. The cameras Olivia found, combined with Ethan's recorded admission, formed the bedrock of a case for illegal surveillance. Separate financial crimes might also be charged pending further investigation, though Ethan's high-powered lawyers tried to secure his immediate release. The judge set strict conditions, including an order to stay away from Olivia. The air around Olivia felt lighter, as though a looming storm cloud had finally shifted. But she knew the process was just beginning. Court battles, testimonies, and depositions lay ahead. With Ethan behind bars awaiting a hearing, Olivia returned to Chloe's house. She found that for the first time in weeks. She slept soundly. Each morning she woke up feeling the reassuring thump of her baby's movements, a subtle reminder that life was carrying on, and so must she. Chloe noticed Olivia's change in demeanor. "You seem calmer, more determined," she said one afternoon as they sipped tea in the living room. Olivia nodded, hugging a pillow. "For so long, I felt trapped in Ethan's world. Even when I suspected something was wrong, I didn't see a way out. Now it's as if I finally have permission to fight back, like I'm no longer living under his shadow." Chloe smiled. "You were always stronger than you realized. Now that strength can shine through." Yet the wheels of justice turned slowly, even from behind bars. Ethan's influence cast a long shadow. His attorneys filed motions to dismiss the illegal surveillance charges, claiming Olivia consented to the cameras. They argued it was a mutual decision to enhance security. Detectives had to produce clear evidence contradicting that claim, relying heavily on the day Olivia discovered the cameras and confronted him. Simultaneously, one of Ethan's business partners, a man named Michael Donovan, came forward with new allegations, revealing Ethan had double-crossed him in an offshore property development. Donovan claimed Ethan orchestrated a scheme to siphon profits and launder money through a fake charity. As investigators peeled back layers of Ethan's dealings, more unscrupulous activities bubbled to the surface. Despite these revelations, Ethan didn't crumble easily. His high-priced legal team countered every accusation with stalling tactics. Depositions were rescheduled, motions for protective orders were filed, and the case dragged on in a labyrinth of paperwork. Olivia grew weary of all, longing for a resolution. David reassured her that building a solid case often took time, especially when dealing with a defendant as financially fortified as Ethan. Meanwhile, Olivia's pregnancy advanced into the third trimester. Each ultrasound depicted a thriving baby, offering hope amidst the turmoil. She tried to focus on self-care, gentle yoga, prenatal vitamins, reading about childbirth. Chloe threw a small baby shower in her living room, inviting a handful of friends who stuck by Olivia through the scandal. They gifted onesies, blankets, and a vintage rocking chair that moved Olivia to tears. Yet underneath the celebrations, an unease persisted. Ethan's trial loomed, and the outcome was uncertain. If his lawyers found a loophole, or if evidence was deemed inadmissible, he could walk free. Olivia dreaded the thought of him returning to the mansion, resuming control of her life. She resolved to fight tooth and nail to ensure that never happened. The first pretrial hearing arrived on a crisp morning. Olivia, dressed modestly in a maternity outfit, sat in the gallery with David by her side. Ethan was brought in wearing a tailored suit that seemed incongruous with the circumstances. His typically confident demeanor was tempered by the gravity of the charges. Yet an air of arrogance still clung to him. The prosecutor outlined the case, illegal surveillance, potential money laundering, fraud, and possible extortion. Ethan's lawyer proclaimed his client's innocence, labeling the evidence as circumstantial or improperly obtained. As the arguments volleyed back and forth, Olivia's stomach twisted, partly from nerves, partly from the baby's movements. When the judge asked if Ethan understood the charges, he stood, voice level. "Yes, Your Honor, but I maintain my innocence. My wife misunderstood my intentions. Everything I did was to protect her." He cast a glance toward Olivia, as if challenging her resolve. She felt a swirl of anger and heartbreak, but refused to look away. At the close of the hearing, the judge denied the defense's motion to dismiss, citing sufficient probable cause. A trial date was set. Though no victory was certain, Olivia allowed herself a small exhale of relief. Ethan wouldn't escape consequences easily. In the weeks leading up to the trial, Ethan bombarded Olivia with letters from jail, some sweetly pleading, others menacing. He apologized, then accused her of betrayal. He professed love, then threatened legal custody battles over the baby. Olivia's emotions seesawed, but she reminded herself that each letter was merely another manipulation. She confided in Chloe, reading segments of Ethan's pleas aloud. "He's either delusional or cunning." Chloe sighed, handing Olivia a box of tissues. "Don't let him get into your head." Trying to remain objective, Olivia kept every letter, passing copies to David. They only reinforced the narrative of control and intimidation that defined her marriage to Ethan. One morning, Olivia received a call from Michael Donovan, the business partner who'd exposed Ethan's offshore dealings. She almost didn't answer, suspecting a trap, but his voice on the line sounded sincere. "MS. Vanderbilt, I want to help you," he said. "Your husband cost me millions. I'm prepared to testify against him, but I also have information that could protect you." When they met in David's office, Donovan revealed he had evidence of Ethan funneling money into accounts set up in Olivia's name. "He was preparing to frame you if things went south," Donovan explained. "He's done it before. Shift blame to someone else to stay clean. This time, I made sure to document everything. I'd rather see him pay for his crimes than let him walk away unscathed." Olivia's blood ran cold at the idea of Ethan implicating her in his schemes. She thanked Donovan for sharing the evidence, though her relief mingled with a sense of betrayal so profound it left her nauseated. Despite everything, part of her still remembered the man she fell in love with, the man who once spoke tenderly of building a family. Now it felt like all of it was a lie. As the trial drew near, the prosecution compiled a formidable case: Sarah's testimony about Ethan's instructions for hidden surveillance, Olivia's discovery of the cameras, the recorded admission at the cafe, Donovan's financial records, and the detective's ongoing investigation into Ethan's worldwide deals. The narrative coalesced into a damning portrayal: a corrupt millionaire who resorted to unlawful spying and manipulation to protect his criminal empire. Ethan's defense scrambled. They attempted to suppress evidence, claiming it was obtained illegally, the wire, or that Olivia had no right to rummage through his lockbox, violation of privacy. However, the judge allowed the majority of the evidence, citing the circumstances of domestic abuse and personal safety concerns. On the first day of the trial, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Reporters lined the hallways, eager to capture the downfall of a once-revered millionaire philanthropist. Olivia tried to block out the cameras and chatter, focusing instead on her resolve. She took the stand, her belly now visibly round, and recounted her experiences, the hidden cameras, Ethan's erratic behavior, her confrontation, and the fear that drove her from her home. Tears slipped down her cheeks as she described discovering a camera in their bedroom, filming her in private. She spoke of betrayal, shame, and the terror of being watched. Yet, she also spoke with quiet defiance, making it clear that Ethan had lost her trust the moment he decided to violate her privacy. David, acting as her legal counsel, guided her through the testimony, ensuring the jury felt the weight of her trauma. When Ethan took the stand, he tried to appear sympathetic, claiming he acted out of love and desperation. "I was threatened," he insisted. "Men wanted to hurt my family. I had no choice." But under cross-examination, the prosecution tore into the contradictions in his story. They highlighted how some cameras were placed in areas that had nothing to do with exterior threats, like the bedroom closet and bathroom entrance. They presented transcripts of phone calls referencing deals with questionable entities overseas, eviscerating the notion that Ethan was a mere victim. After weeks of intense arguments, witness testimonies, and evidence presentations, their closing statements arrived. The prosecution described Ethan as a man obsessed with preserving his wealth at any cost, even at the expense of his wife's dignity. The defense painted Ethan as a misguided husband, entrapped by dangerous business associates and a vengeful spouse. The jury deliberated for 3 days, the tension palpable. Finally, the verdict. Martin was found guilty of multiple charges, including illegal surveillance, financial fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The hush of the courtroom exploded into gasps and murmurs. Ethan's face was ashen as the judge read the sentence, a significant prison term, with restitution ordered for the financial crimes. As he was led away, he managed one last glance at Olivia, a mixture of anger and regret flickering in his eyes. But she refused to look away this time, meeting his gaze head-on. He had reaped the consequences of his actions, and she felt no pity left to give. In the weeks following the trial, Olivia slowly pieced her life back together. She moved into a small, comfortable apartment, deciding she didn't want the ghosts of the mansion haunting her memories. Her divorce from Ethan, though still in process, was inevitably heading toward finalization given the criminal convictions. She focused on the baby, decorating a nursery with soft pastels, storing away supplies gifted by caring friends. Chloe helped with everything, accompanying her to prenatal classes, building furniture, and offering a listening ear whenever Olivia felt overwhelmed. Sarah found a new job far from Ethan's circles, relieved to be free from his shadow. One balmy evening, Olivia went into labor. Chloe rushed her to the hospital, where Olivia brought a healthy baby boy into the world. The moment she held her son, tears of joy streamed down her cheeks. Though the road had been harrowing, culminating in heartbreak, betrayal, and fear, she had arrived at a beautiful new beginning. She named him Daniel, symbolizing resilience and hope. Months later, Olivia visited Ethan in prison just once, partly for closure and partly so he could see his child. The meeting was brief and emotionally charged. Ethan looked haunted, a shadow of his former self. He tried to apologize, but Olivia gently shook her head. "I accept your apology for my own peace, but I'll never forget what you did," she said, holding Daniel close. He's the only good thing I got out of our marriage, and I'll protect him from ever becoming like you." Ethan's face crumpled, tears glistening in his eyes. But Olivia felt only a quiet detachment. She left the facility without looking back, stepping into the bright sunlight where Chloe waited with open arms. As they drove away, Olivia glanced at Daniel, snug in his car seat, and felt a surge of determination. She had broken free, carving out a life of honesty, safety, and love, something Ethan, for all his millions, might never truly understand. And so ends the twisted tale of how one pregnant woman's world shattered, then mended itself stronger than before. Olivia confronted the hidden cameras, exposing the millionaire's darkest secrets, and in doing so, reclaimed her autonomy. What began as a story of betrayal and surveillance became a testament to courage and resolve. Olivia's determination ensured her freedom, not just for her own sake, but for the future of her child. In the end, Ethan faced the consequences of his deceit, proving that no fortune or influence can shield a person from karma forever. Thank you for joining us for this dramatic, true-to-life saga. If Olivia's incredible journey from betrayal to triumph captivated you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We're committed to bringing you more riveting stories, just like this one, tales of resilience, the quest for redemption, and the extraordinary strength that emerges when individuals confront life's most daunting shadows. Your support is invaluable and helps us continue to bring these powerful stories to light. Stay safe, stay tuned, and always stay inspired.